Welcome to the final episode of Season 1 of Student of the Game podcast. I'm your host, Brad Noll, and this has been an amazing ride for me personally. I hope you've enjoyed it. As the listener, I hope you've seen your story in a lot of our guests and a lot of our conversations. What I want to do today is I want to wrap up this year. 2023, we launched Student of the Game podcast where we had 3 goals. I had 3 goals. And those 3 goals as we started off was to create legacy content for my children. I know a lot of really cool people, and I wanted to make sure we could record episodes where that content was locked in eternity. We can always go back and look at that, and that content was created for my children. But hopefully, you've gained something from it. I want to become a great communicator. Not just a good communicator, a great communicator. I believe that a lot of issues and challenges we have come from our communication, and the biggest lie of communication is that the belief that it happened. My mentor Donald Miller says that the key to great communication is that communication is an exercise in memorization. Also, as I think about communication, it's active listening. How many times throughout your day do you wait to speak? You want to be somebody said something that made me think of something, so now I'm going to speak. When active listening is maybe asking the next question, which is good journalism, by the way. When you see somebody and they have a game and hey, how did it feel to win the championship? Oh, it felt great. Well, what was it like when you were down with 3 minutes to go? Like that's okay. Let's get into this conversation. Like that's the type of stuff. If you're a salesperson, if you have relationships in your life that you're trying to help move the needle in any given form or fashion, that's really how relationships are built. Is when you ask that next question. It's listening, the active listening. My goal as being a great communicator is when I have a guest on the podcast is asking them a question that I think the listener, you guys, would want to know. When somebody says something. And then the third one, shameless plug here, is to promote our brands, to promote our real estate company, our interiors business, and some other things, some opportunities we have coming up in this next year, and to promote that, and to publicly promote that and not be ashamed of it. We have a fantastic real estate team. I love the people we have on our team, and I'm not too proud to brag on them and say we are your best option. So if you're thinking about buying or selling a home in the Fort Wayne, Indiana area, we're your best option. I know it. And it's because of the work that we put in, all the work that goes in behind the scenes. And if you know somebody somewhere in the country that's moving, that's buying or selling a home, I'm connected to amazing realtors all over the country. So it's the work that we do in the behind the scenes that promotes that. But you're listening to this. This is going to air at the end of December 2023 as we head into January. And I had some interesting conversations with my team here this week as we do some kind of annual reviews, looking into the 2024 season, setting some goals. We talked about Janus. So if you've never heard of this, Janus, all right, look that up. Google Janus. And Janus is an ancient Roman religion and myth. Janus is the god of beginnings, transitions, time, passages, endings. And Janus has 2 faces, one looking back and one looking into the future. And I think it's important. It's important that we have a January. It doesn't have to be January 1st everywhere to celebrate a new year. It could be daily. In my journal, the first line of my journal every single morning is today I begin a new life. I want to look and pay attention to what happened yesterday. What am I excited about in the future? You don't have to have a new year every January 1st or wait for January 1st to have a new year. We heard some guests talk about short cycle execution. Every 90 days or every 30 days. You could have a beginning and an end every 30 days. But Janus, it's January. We're going to head into January, and Janus is the god of transitions and timing and new beginnings and endings, and that's what January stands for. That's where we get that from. But what I'd like to do today is I'd like to recap the guests that we've had. I'd like to recap some of the episodes as we head into this next year, kind of give you the Cliff's Notes on season 1 of Student of the Game. You heard the goals, right? Those are the goals. Create legacy content for my children, become a great communicator, and promote the brands that we have here at Noll Team Real Estate. But the framework to Student of the Game podcast is all about mastering the fundamentals. What is truth? It's searching and seeking the truth, the fundamentals. There's fundamentals in everything. There's fundamentals in parenting. There's fundamentals in business. There's fundamentals in relationships. Everything that you can think of has fundamentals to it. Fundamentals will never change. It's the strategies and the tactics that you employ those will always change. So if you feel like your life is constantly changing, if you feel like, you're frustrated because of the change at your work or the change at home, those are just the strategies and tactics. The fundamentals will not. So you have to seek out the truth. You have to seek out those fundamentals. Fall in love with practice. It's probably the thing my kids are either going to love or hate about me as they get older and have their own kids, because I tell them we will match their practice, we will match their effort. If you don't fall in love with practice, you can't be great at anything. Convince me otherwise, but you cannot be great at anything if you don't fall in love with the practice. The mundane, the boring. Kobe, since his passing, has had so many videos out that just talk about falling in love with the process, being addicted to the process, and that's really where mastery happens. And so that's where growth happens, is on that plateau. It's on the things that nobody sees you doing every single day. So I love, everybody has a story. I love hearing how people are falling in love with their processes. I love hearing how people are falling in love with their practice. I'm learning. I'm sorry, this podcast might just be for me. I'm learning every single time I interview somebody, and I love it. And I can adapt and adopt things into my business and into my world. So we talk about mastering the fundamentals. We talk about falling in love with practice, and then let's talk about winning at the game of life. I've heard it recently from some coaches that at the end of the day, you can impact more people by having a bigger platform. Well, do you know how you get a bigger platform? Is you win. You can still have a platform in losing. I think you can be a gracious loser. I think you can learn a lot, and you can give and share a lot through defeat. But let's be honest, winners have bigger platforms. Losers do have platforms. I'm not here to say they don't, but winners have bigger platforms. Don't you want to be a winner? Let's talk about what winning looks like for you in 2024 this year. Okay, so we're going to go back through some of these recordings, and I want to land on. I'm going to end this with one of my favorite stories that we've had. It was from a buddy of mine, Ben Andrews, realtor in Portland, Oregon, author and a speaker, and he talks about this story of meeting the legendary coach John Wooden. Okay, Ben was a basketball junkie, turned track star at Oregon, and he just happened to be at UCLA. Goes into the Pauley Pavilion, and Coach Wooden was sitting down in the bleachers, and he walks up to Coach Wooden and recognizes it at the time, and he's like, "Oh my goodness, this is John Wooden," and he says, "May I use that ball and take a shot?" And Coach Wooden said something that is very Coach Wooden-esque, and he says, "Well, son, which shot are you going to take?" Let me pause right there. We're heading into 2024. You, the listener, what shot are you going to take this year? What shot are you going to intentionally take in your spiritual life, your family, your relationships, your business, your finances, your health and wellness, your mental, your mind and body? What shot are you going to take? What's important to you? What are some things that you've been writing down every single year? My resolutions, my goals. What shot are you going to take? So Coach Wooden looks at Ben and says, "What shot are you going to take?" And Ben was stumped, and he's like, I'm gonna shoot a layup." He's like, "No, young man." And Ben's like, "I'm gonna make a layup." Coach Wooden gives him the ball, goes down and shoots a layup, makes it at Pauley Pavilion, a dream of his. And then Coach says, "Well, you might as well make one at the other end." So Ben, the track star, runs down, shoots a layup, makes it, gives Coach the ball back. When he gives it to Coach, he kind of asks him what he's doing there. And he says he's waiting for one of his players. And at 80 some years old, and this is the story here, at 80 some years old, Ben says, "You're still coaching? I thought you retired." And John Wooden said this, and this is what I want to leave you with as a thought for this upcoming year. He says, "No, young man, I'm not still coaching. I'm still learning. Because if I stop learning, I have nothing to teach." Wow, let me say that again. If I stop learning, I have nothing to teach. Knowing what shot you're going to take is important, but also knowing how to get there, knowing where you need to grow, knowing where I need to grow, knowing, the people that we need in our lives. So what a fantastic story that talks about, January is a fresh start. It's about beginnings and ends. It's about It's about transitions. It's about reflection, but it's also about hope. It's about hope in your future. And let me just share a couple tidbits from this year and things that I really have learned and enjoyed sharing with you, the listener. Um, as we talk about creating legacy content for my kids, there's some things that some really close people to me I didn't really know much about. But the very first podcast was my sister. So there's nobody that's going to be number one on my podcast other than my sister. So if you heard her story or if you didn't hear her story, she had 4 knee surgeries. She's 5'1". She had setback after setback. She moved as she was going into high school, was mad at me, okay, on my podcast, very first podcast ever. She talked about how mad she is at me. And she overcomes all of these things, ends up being the player of the year in the Fort Wayne area her senior year in high school, plays varsity all 4 years in high school, goes to college, gets a scholarship, scores 2,000 points at Bethel University. Okay, 2,000 points. She's in the Hall of Fame. She's 5'1", 4 knee surgeries, tons of setbacks, moves, doesn't like me at the time. Hopefully she does now. And how many of you have that same story? Like, what's your setback? What is your setback? What's the fundamentals in that? The fundamentals, that she kept coming back to, was confidence, and preparation and being prepared. And she's doing that now in her business. She coaches women on their health journeys and is doing amazing. And again, back to Ben, that 5th year of high school, the setback he had. He had to quit the sport that he loved, and ended up realizing he had a gift. Started running track, and he went on to run at Oregon, one of the most prestigious schools, and befriended the founder of Nike. If you listen to that story, that just tells you right now, if you have a plan, it may not go the way you think. Right? It may not go the way you think. So pause for a second here. What's your 2024 vision? What do you want your life to look like? Think about that. Take some time. Jot that down. Write it out. It's this time next year, and describe what a great year was for you. What is that? For Ben, his vision would have been, oh, I'm going to play basketball in college. Well, that was taken away from him. Guess what? He ran track at the most prestigious school. I bet a couple years before then, he wasn't thinking about running track at Oregon. It's okay to have a vision and for it not to work out. But the point is, have the vision, have something that you wake up every single day excited about, and let's go get after it. Ask yourself the question, what are you willing to go through? What are you willing to go through? What setback are you willing to have? Being vulnerable, here's my story. I have a word of the year every year. My family, we have a word of the year, a one-word mission statement. Call it whatever you want. Word of the year, one-word mission statement. We have a word of the year. It's been a lot of different words over the last few years we've done. I think probably 8 or 9 years we've done this. Strength was our word this year. We had one of the most challenging years in business to start the year. I had some health issues. We had more challenges. Our business went up. It went up more than it's ever gone up before. So we've had the highs and the lows. Our team looks different right now than it did at the start of the year. Our kids are going through stuff, and we're trying to be the best parents we can. But strength was the word. And that in and of itself, I started the year. Okay, here's a story with strength. As we ended last year was one of our best years in business. Last year we traveled a lot. It was good. Things were great. So strength to me was growth. It was getting better. I didn't realize the word that I chose was going to be needed because we were going in the other direction. And it got us through. My wife and I, it got us through. We kept talking about, okay, where do we need to be strong right now? Who needs to be strong? Both of us can't go backwards at the same time. So somebody's got to be strong. So that's strength, that word strength, we locked into that. So are you willing to go through some stuff to get to your vision? And then as you're going through the stuff, because we're all going to go through it, what anchor thought can you have to move you forward? Lastly, do you have a group of people that are cheering for you? Right? So we talk about vision. What's your vision? What are your goals? What are some things that you want to accomplish? Get excited about those. And then are you willing to go through some stuff to get that? If you're not willing to go through some stuff, I don't think you probably have a strong enough vision. You probably have a wish list, right? A little Christmas list. If I don't get it, I'll be okay. But your vision is, I'm going to burn the ships. I'm going to do whatever I can to get there. And that's really where growth happens. Like, I set goals now. It's called B goals. You've heard this before. Be, do, and have. A lot of people want to have something, right? My goal is to pay off the debt. My goal is to do something. But what about B? I want to become this type of person. Okay, well, that starts with habits. So what's your vision for 2024? Are you willing to go through some stuff to get there? And do you have a group of people that's cheering for you? I'm cheering for you. I really am. Reach out to me. Tell me what your goals are. I'd love to hear from you. Send me a DM on Instagram. It's underscore Brad Noll underscore. Send me a DM. Let me know what you're trying to accomplish this year. But back to some of these episodes. Rodney Pryor was on there. We talked about identity. That was big. There's a lot of adults struggling with identity. There's kids struggling with identity, and he found his identity in something other than his faith and his family, and he found it in a sport, and and now he has a brand where he's helping the youth find their identity. It's funny, the things that we struggle with, we come back to help other people if we're paying attention to that. What a great podcast Lindsay was on our 20th anniversary, our actual 20th wedding anniversary. She came on and we talked about 20 years in business, 20 years in marriage. And the thing I love about Lindsay's episode was she set out to be a nurse. And as a nurse, one of the things that really stuck with her was her sister got hurt in elementary school and she wanted to help her. Lindsay is a helper all the time. She helps everybody, sometimes doesn't help herself, but she helps everybody. And it wasn't until we went to a real estate conference that she realized she has a gift in interior design and in decorating. And she found I can use my gift because that's the fundamental, right? The strategies and the tactics. The strategy and tactic was nursing. Nursing isn't the gift, right? It's the helping people. What is your gift? What are the things that you were given that you could apply that anywhere? Maybe it's volunteer work this year. Maybe it's just making sure your family's connected. What are the things that you can do that's fundamental? And for her, it's taking care of people. It just showed up as a nurse. And so when she realized, hey, I go through a lot of homes. I help Brad stage homes. I love it. I could probably do this full time. She started her own business during COVID. Super proud of her. But it was awesome to have her on the podcast. On our 20th wedding anniversary. What a gift. Go back and listen to that. If you're a husband and wife team, if you guys work together, if your spouse, your partner, you guys work together, you guys are in business together, or you even, just go to the same work, listen to that. There's some good nuggets in there. We're still working on that too, by the way. Episode that really spoke to me as well is my brother, Greg. Greg was emigrated here from England, to go to school, let's say, but he was a basketball player. And he got denied. He got denied coming to America and didn't have a backup plan. And come full circle, Greg and his family are up in Traverse City, Michigan. He's an executive of a company up there, and just killing it. And so listening to Greg's story about what he had to go through to get here, leaving his family behind, coming to America, not knowing anybody, living with this family he didn't know, and his mom really didn't know. And shout out to Veronica for trusting our family and letting Greg stay with us for 2 years. But that was a process. My kids didn't really know that story, and I think if you listen to that, you're gonna see a lot of yourself in there. Just because he came from another country and did something that he's never done before, we all have that inside of us. There's that immigrant inside of all of us that you call it a goal, something I've never done before, and you want to go explore that. That was a great episode. My daughter got on the podcast, Bree. I don't know why we thought about doing this, but we just thought like, hey, there's documentaries out there that kind of chronicle people's careers or seasons, like The Last Dance. Like who would have thought, to document, the Chicago Bulls in the last season. So we thought, hey, let's give it a try. Let's interview you at the beginning of your golf season, at the middle of your golf season, at the end of your golf season. And if there's one thing that stuck out to me during her episode, and probably one of the more impactful stories along with Ben's and Coach Wooden, is Bree had never shot a sub 80 round, a 79 or less in golf in a tournament. She's done it in practice and practice rounds, but never in a tournament. And her goal was to average a 79. Her goal was to do something consistently she had never done before. In 2024, what are you going to set out to do that you've never done before? Think about that. She ends up averaging a 78.9. Her team was ranked somewhere between number 1 and number 3 in the state. They had a great run and finished number 3 in the state of Indiana at the state tournament. And she had a great postseason. But she put in a lot of work, and we tracked it. We tracked it. We measured it, just like you're running a business. If you want something in life, you got to track it. If it's important to you, it's got to be on your calendar. So it was awesome to see that, obviously as a proud dad, but more as lessons in business. Mike and Dolfo got on and talked about communicating, focusing, executing, and winning. Mike and Chris are great friends of ours in Louisville, Kentucky, that own a real estate company. And Mike is a mentor of mine. He's a friend of mine, and he offered some great insights on how he coaches up his team, how he communicates with his team, how he leads his team. We had Dave Simon, former player at IPFW with me, a former teammate. Now he's been a professional basketball player for 19 years. He talked about being a pro, and he communicated the work that it takes and really falling in love with practice. I love people that will echo what we're trying to do on this podcast. And he says that I will retire when I fall out of love of practice. Speaking of practice, Coach Cameron, NFL coach, former NFL and NCAA football coach, great man, unbelievable. I've quick friendship with Coach Cameron. He talked about some of his favorite pros, Drew Brees and LaDainian Tomlinson. LaDainian Tomlinson of the Chargers, okay, leads the league all time in yards. And listen to this: every time in practice he touched the ball, he would go to the end zone. He was training his mind and his body. When I touch the ball, I go to the end zone. That's what I do. How many times I think to myself, like, if I have a goal of writing 5 notes a day, I will not leave the office until I write 5 notes a day. How many times have I gone home and I haven't written a single note yet? He was speaking to me. I have to be that person that says, I'm going to win every single day. I'm going to win every single practice, every single catch, every single repetition. I'm going to win it. Coach Pashota was the same way. Coach P, that was my college basketball coach, one of our coaches here. And he talked about, he loves winning practice, winning the day, winning practice, and that just shows the level of mastery. So it's all in the preparation, right? I mean, it's practice. Falling in love with practice has to do with preparing. And Coach Kaufman the same way. Coach Kaufman, shout out to the Dons this year. They're having a great season, 9-1, I believe, as the recording of this podcast. But such a great season. He talks about preparation for practice. He talks about engaging his staff in practice. He talks about intentionally pulling 3 guys aside, one right after practice, one after training sessions, and then one maybe the next day, and just talking to him, loving on him, building a relationship, and the preparation that goes into him and his season. There's no wonder why they're being successful. Shout out to Charity Middleton. Charity has become one of my best friends. She's on our team. She's been in real estate for a decade or more, and she just embodies what we're trying to do here at Noll Team Real Estate. She got on and talked about her story a little bit. She had traumatic experience as an early child. Was a star stud athlete, 3-sport athlete. Probably could have played 3 sports in college. Had a great family, a very strong family supporting her and surrounding her. And she goes on and has an amazing college basketball career. I think I shared some stats with her she didn't even know. So anyway, what a star, and we're just grateful that she's on our team. We're grateful for all of our team members. Charity's a leader on our team. She's one of our agents that leads our team, has a great business, and is a great role model. So I appreciate Charity being on the show. And Steph Winger. Steph Winger was on the show talking about the right blend. The right blend is all about, how do you balance it all? You don't. Balancing, juggling. You go through seasons in life. And, Steph has gone through some things that she wants to help women. So she coaches women in their business, being great and trying to find what that right blend looks like. And then we ended it with Michael Yoder, the man, the myth, the legend. Michael's dad and my dad were business partners at my grandfather's real estate company. And, Michael just talked about his company, which produces this podcast, by the way, Truthwork Media. If you guys are looking to start a podcast, reach out to Truthwork Media. They're fantastic. I love all the people that we've worked with. They've got great company culture, and they're experts. And they've taken a schmuck like me and made a podcast semi-successful here in the first 6 months. So thank you to those guys. And Michael talks about hope a lot. He talks about people's superpowers, dealing with not being angry, letting things happen and roll off your back, and being prepared, and creating a great company culture, but also delivering an amazing first class product and service to their clients. So, wow, I'm blessed. I'm blessed to do this podcast. I'm blessed you, the listener. This is my first solo episode, by the way. So next year, that we got some tricks up our sleeves where there may be some more solo episodes, or maybe some recaps of some shows. But you need to do me a favor, okay? The goal of this podcast, the thesis of this podcast, is relationships win. And in the game of life, whatever game you're playing, whatever you're striving for, whatever your goals are, I hope you understand how important and how vital relationships are to not only our overall health, our well-being, but to your success, to achieving. You want to accomplish something, take a minute, Think about the relationships in your life. Who do you need to know? Sometimes we get stuck in the how. How am I going to do this? How am I going to make it all work? I don't have enough time in a day. If you do one thing after this, make a list of the who. Make a list of the people in your life, the who's that are going to help. They want to help. In our business, we say our goal is to find the givers inside of our database, inside of all of our past clients. You hear the 80-20 rule. Our ultimate goal is to serve our clients so well that the givers rise to the top and they start to show who they are. The givers in your life will show who they are. When you need something done, when you have a goal, when you want to accomplish something, you got to dive into those relationships. You got to be present. You got to engage. You got to be the person that you're looking for. You got to be if you want to find givers, you got to be a giver. Right? So, with this podcast, it's been so much fun this year, and I'm excited for season 2 as we start the new year. And we're going to continue to master the fundamentals. We're going to continue to show you how to fall in love with practice and ultimately win at the game of life. And as we turn the page on this new year, we learned about Janus, the god of new beginnings, endings, transitions. Don't wait till January 1st every year to have a new transition in your life. Maybe it's monthly, maybe it's quarterly, maybe it's every 90 days. That short cycle execution is real. But this is such a fantastic time of year to go back and look and say, what has worked? What's gone well? What do I want to keep? What am I going to get rid of as we head into a new beginning? And like Ben Andrews said from the legendary coach John Wooden, knowing what shot you're going to take is one of the most important decisions you will make in life. Guys, this has been great. Looking forward to season 2. Now it's my turn to send some flowers. I want to send flowers to you, the listener. I want to send flowers to my guests that have taken their time to be on here. I want to send flowers to the people that are listening to this and maybe finding a little value. Thank you so much for allowing me to do what I enjoy doing. Thank you for allowing me to go on this personal mission to grow myself. And I hope you're getting some value out of it. If you could do me a favor, follow me on Instagram, _Brad Noll _. Send me a direct message. Let me know what your goals are. Let me know what winning looks like for you. And by the way, if you know somebody who you believe is a student of the game, somebody who has a story, somebody who's been through something, who has mastered the fundamentals and fallen in love with practice and maybe doesn't feel like it, but really is winning at the game of life, connect me with them. I'd love to have a conversation and help them share their story. Happy New Year. This is a wrap, and I'm looking forward to season 2. Be good, everybody.